So I'm a bit late on this topic, but basically on the 13th of November, F&ck, a huge YouTube channel, posted a video titled 5 Reasons Why Movement Watches Are Better Than Rolexes. Now this video has gathered a huge amount of hate on YouTube. I think it's at 14,000 dislikes versus 4,000 likes. So it's gone a bit crazy, but I thought I'd share my thoughts on it. And this is nothing against F&ck. Personally, it's more of around kind of this fake advertisements of watches, because that's kind of one of the reasons why I started the YouTube channel, was because I didn't trust the stuff that I was seeing online. But I thought I'd counter his arguments with 5 reasons that he was wrong about his post, which you all know, and the 14,000 dislikes kind of proves that point. Let's get into it. So welcome back to the F&ck channel. I'm Adrian. I drink coffee and talk about watches, and today I want to talk about the 5 reasons why F&ck is wrong about movement watches being better than Rolexes. So the first point that F&ck made was around heritage, and he said he gives a nod to movement's heritage because it's run by 2 young chaps who dropped out of college and they kind of raised all this money, and he felt a connection with them because they're making their own way despite everything else, the fact that they're making their way in this industry that was dominated by other people. Which is quite cool, but then lots of people are doing that at the moment. It's just that they've done it to the most grand scale. He's completely discredited all of Rolex's history, assuming that it's now in its current state of being this huge giant, but it hasn't always been this huge giant. So Hans Wilsdorf was an orphaned German. He learned to be a watchmaker, and he was a watchmaker. He moved to London to start Rolex, war broke out, moved to Switzerland, and so he was a German living in Switzerland during the war, making these watches, and he was a watchmaker. He wasn't just a businessman. He obviously had an amazing marketing and branding head on him, but he was a watchmaker. These 2 guys that are running movements, they're just guys who've jumped on a trend and they're powering that trend. Props to them, they're making a shitload of money, but there's very little heritage there. If you need more of a reason to support Rolex and their heritage, if you want to give them a nod, is that in World War II, taking note that Hans Wilsdorf was a German, he heard that the RAF pilots, the Royal Air Force pilots, were buying Rolexes because they were far more accurate, more robust than the standard issue watches that they were given. When these pilots were subsequently being captured, their watches would be stolen from them, confiscated from them by the Nazis. Hans Wilsdorf then made a program that he managed himself that would give back watches to these officers who had their watches stolen. So he was a German kind of saying "fuck you" to the Nazis, which is that's pretty badass. So the second point that F&ck talks about is reliability. Now he starts off talking about movements, quartz watches compared to the Rolex that he's wearing, which is a GMT Master 2 powered by the caliber 3186. Now of course quartz watches they're far cheaper to make, but regardless of that, they are more accurate than automatic watches. They're kind of easier to run as well, because if they run out of battery, just change the battery. Automatic movements need servicing. And also you can take a full quartz watch, leave it on the side for a month and pick it up and it's still telling the right time. Automatic watches usually die after a couple of days, depending. You know that. But let's just look at some facts around this. If we're going to compare watches, let's actually compare watches. So let's look at some of the movements. So the movement watch is powered by the Miyota 821A. Some of the specifications are it runs at 21.6 thousand beats per hour, it has 21 joules, a power reserve of 42 hours, and it runs at an accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds a day. If we compare this to the Rolex 3186, this runs at 28.8 thousand beats per hour, it has 31 joules and a power reserve of 48 hours. The accuracy is +2 to -2 seconds a day. That's COSC certified. Now, the main thing that you could look at here is just the joules. The Rolex has 10 more joules in it than the Miyota movement, and joules basically mean that it's going to run more smoothly and it's going to require less maintenance over time. You cannot argue that a watch that runs at an accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds a day has had more care and attention put into the manufacture compared to a watch that runs at -2 +2 seconds a day. It just doesn't make sense. So completely wrong on this point. And that's not even my opinion, it's just wrong. You could argue that the quartz movement watch is more reliable than the Rolex, but I kind of think that comes down to personal opinion and personal requirements. The third point that Alpha M makes is around affordability. Now this is where he's kind of right and kind of wrong at the same time. Yeah, of course the movement watches are far cheaper, far easier to buy as the initial cost. The automatic watches are coming around at about $300. I'm guessing that's going to be £300 because we get screwed over here. But if you compare that to a Rolex, which Alpha M is wearing, which is the 116710LN, the black bezeled GMT Master 2, now that costs around £6,500 compared to the £300 movement watch. Once you've bought that watch, that money's pretty much gone. You would resell that movement watch for probably around $150, 150 quid. The Rolex you could resell for a profit of £1,000. So affordability, it's kind of a tricky one. It basically comes down to whether you've got cash in the bank or not. Now Alpha M's fourth point is around accessibility. And that's basically the ability to go pick up that piece. And of course, you could go into lots of shops and pick up a movement watch or just order it online. Whereas with the Rolex, especially the GMT Master 2 that he's wearing, you can't do that. You can't just walk into an AD and pick it up. So that way you're kind of right, but also wrong in the same time as well, because you're comparing non-luxury to luxury, and that just, it's not a fair comparison. That's like saying that McDonald's is better than the Savoy because you can walk into McDonald's and just pick up a Big Mac, where you've probably got a 2 or 3 month wait list to go have afternoon tea in the Savoy Hotel. They're two completely different things. One's luxury, one's non-luxury. Now his fifth point, which I quite liked, was the freak the fuck out factor. And that's basically around the idea of what if you lose a watch or what if you get mugged. Now if you lose your Rolex, you're going to be pretty damn upset and you'll be potentially down $6.5 grand, $7 grand. Now if you lose your movement or you'll get mugged for your movement watches, which is quite unlikely, you're going to be down $300, £300. Now the difference is you're going to have your Rolex watch insured and you're going to claim that watch on insurance. You're not going to claim your $300, your £300 watch on your insurance. It just doesn't make sense. I kind of think they even each other out, because if you claim your watch on your Rolex on insurance, you're going to get that money back less your excess, and your excess is probably going to be around £250, £300 and equivalent in dollars. Yeah, your premium's going to go up when you renew, but just don't renew with that provider. Go to another provider. Now, this wasn't really a point that Alpha made in argument between movement and Rolex, but this was a point that he just made at the end of the video, which I absolutely agree with, and I try and explain to people when they ask me what sort of watch should I get, or I'm thinking between this watch and that watch. If you can afford a Rolex, this is what he says, if you can afford a Rolex and you want a Rolex, go buy a Rolex and don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. If you want a movement watch and you can afford a movement watch, go buy a movement watch and don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. I completely agree with that sentiment. Of course, there's going to be a lot of people who dislike movement for what they're doing. But I feel like there's quite a lot of snobbery. I wouldn't buy a movement watch myself, just like a Daniel Wellington, just like a lot of these other micro brands that are just going on Kickstarter just to make a quick buck, and then in a couple of years they're going to disappear and not be anything. But that's just kind of based on a bit of snobbery, and for me, lack of heritage. I do like heritage in the company. But ultimately, if you like something, go buy it and enjoy it. It really doesn't matter what other people think. Buy the watch that you want, not the watch that other people think that you want or think you should have. It's got nothing to do with them. You're the one who's going to look down at your wrist and see it, so you buy what you want and enjoy it. I totally agree with his statement about that. Teddy Baldassarre did a video, I'll put a link in the description down below, did a video with Alpha M around this video. It's kind of like a reaction on his own video, and a really good interview. And interestingly, Alpha M says that video was a joke, and he hoped that people would see he was obviously joking about the points that he made, which then raises even more of a concern around that video, because he's got a huge channel, millions of subscribers, and he's a very influential person because of that. People will be listening to that video. They will go off and buy watches. And of course, if you're into watches, then you'll be able to see, I didn't see the joke, but you'll be able to see through the BS. And it's that kind of sentiment and that feeling which is why I started this channel. One of the reasons why I started the channel, there's many reasons, but one of the reasons was because I didn't believe the videos that I was seeing. I felt like they were adverts, and this feels like an advert. In the description at the bottom of the video, he's got an affiliated link with Movement, and so he'll get commission for every time someone clicks on that link and buys a watch. I've used these links before. In the Undone video that I did, I had affiliated links. I made it a lot more clear that the links were affiliated, but I believe, I'm guessing, that his video was paid for by Movement because he was overly positive about Movement. I have been offered money to do videos in the past, and I dislike that feeling of, and I've turned them down because I dislike the feeling of being paid for a video. If you're being paid for something, then it's quite obviously an advertisement for that product or that thing. An affiliated link, for me, I feel gives you a lot more freedom to say what you want. For example, the Undone video, I wasn't paid for that, but I was given affiliated links, and I get commission when those links are used and someone buys something. It's kind of totted up over the past few months. Has been around, I don't know, 500 to 800 quid of commission that I've got from that, which is brilliant. So the point is with affiliated links is that you can be free with your comments about a product. So I was quite fair with my comments. I showed what I liked and disliked about the Undone watches. Yet if after that, because it's just my opinions, you don't have to bloody listen to what I say. If after that you still want the watch, or you do want the watch after the things that I've said, then I get a bit of credit for that, and you can use links, and so it works in that way. I feel that Alpha M has pushed the envelope a bit too far with this, and people have just completely seen through that, and that's what's pissed people off, is that he's quite obviously talking bollocks just to get money, which it's a real shame, because it means that when I say positive things about a brand, people assume that I'm getting paid to say those things. And the whole kind of premise around this channel is around not saying what brands want me to say. It's about it's about giving my opinion, which that's pretty much it. The only time I have been paid for a video was when I have a sponsor. So for example, that Patek video that I did was sponsored by Dashlane, and that was just an outright payment to do a video. But Dashlane's got bugger all to do with watches, so it kind of felt like an alright thing to do. Anyway, I thought I'd just share my views on this stuff. It's a weird one, and I do kind of feel sorry for Alpha M, but then because he's just received so much hate. But it was a poor judgment call. I think he needs to give his viewers and subscribers a bit more respect. And if something is a joke, then just make it a bit more obvious. If you're being paid for something, then just be a bit more open. I've seen lots of YouTube channels which say something is sponsored, and it's all right. If you say that at the start, I kind of feel like we're on the same playing field. But if you hide or try to hide what's going on in the background, then it creates such a level of distrust. I think that's what's pissed people off the most. I just thought I'd share my views on this and just kind of counter the silly arguments. Anyway, guys, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Go check me out on Instagram at @BarkandJack, and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Go check out Teddy's interview with Alpha M and see for yourself what Alpha M has to say for the video and all the hate that he's got from it. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.